Welcome back, SOSers or saucers. I kind of like saucers. It reminds me of flying saucers.
Yeah, I love saucers.
Yeah, saucers.
It reminds me of, flying saucers. Mine went to
pasta sauce.
Cup, like a teacup saucer.
Oh, a saucer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then
cute.
yes, pasta sauce. What?
And then also sauce. Yeah, so many things. Anyway, in other news, why you're all really here is today we have an incredible episode.
You're gonna love this interview.
You're gonna love, and you might tear up like at least twice because I think I did 3 times maybe.
Yeah. We all did.
We have Dulce Rico on, and she is a 24-year-old Mexican dreamer living in LA, working on her education. She's in grad school right now to become a history teacher.
Yeah.
And we go into it with her about her experience. She moved here when she was 1. So like what her experience has been like growing up in this country with parents that grew up in Mexico, blending cultures, but also, you know,
breaking generational trauma.
Generational trauma. Yeah. And the difference in perspective of what is possible in your life that one generation can shift.
Yeah.
It's an incredible conversation. So
without further ado,
get your tissues ready, y'all.
Yeah. Welcome to the pod, Dulce. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am really jazzed. We both are to hear your story because I don't know if a lot of people know about the dreamer experience. I mean, they know what they see on TV and in the news, but they don't actually have like a personal account or someone to be like, oh, I know her story. I know it. I have a good, idea of what that experience could be. And first, I just want to start off asking you, like, basically, what was your family's kind of, if you can remember, perspective of coming to the country before they came here? Like, did they have any kind of preconceived notions before coming here?
Because, well, for the listeners, first of all, you moved here, Dulce, when you were 1.
Thank you.
Right? So you were 1, but like growing up, I'm sure your parents, like you heard what they wanted it to be maybe, or what they thought it, I don't know. What did you grow up hearing from them?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that my dad, he had been coming since he was 15 years old, like back and forth, because back in the day, it was so easy to cross the border.
Mm-hmm.
And then like through laws and through time, it just got more difficult. But he used to come a lot and he would come to work. And my mom, she was a little bit younger than he was. So she didn't know much about coming. And then I guess when they fell in love, my mom was, she was like, no, well, you have to take me with you. Because they're just really poor in Mexico, right? So coming to America was going to be like, financially good for them because my mom had me and they're like, okay, well, we need to go. We need to go because we both need to be working and this girl needs to go to school, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess the situation was a little rocky at first because my dad wasn't sure that he wanted to move all of us back because he just wanted to continue to come back and forth. But since it was getting tougher, he was like, okay, maybe we do need to get it together and just all of us come to the United States. And so my mom was pregnant with my brother, who's a year younger than me. And that's when she was like, we
gotta go.
We have to go. Like, there's no more back and forth.
Yeah.
And like, just not having my dad all year round was also kind of tough.
Yeah.
Like, she had to be without him for about 8 to 9 months, which is a season when farm workers usually work. And then during like the 3 months of winter, 4, that's when they go back home.
Wow.
So yeah, their hope was just to come over here to make money and for us to have an education.
And that's what your dad was doing for work. And then when they got here, what was your mom doing?
So my mom she works in agriculture. She works in the lettuce.
Oh.
Which, I worked, my first ever job was actually with my mom when I was 16.
Wow.
So I worked in the lettuce as well. Yeah. Oh my God. I can tell you guys that every day in the morning I would wake up and I'd be like, do I have to go? Like, do I really have to go? Like, how important is this? But then I would think to myself, like, my mom and dad do this every single day. Like, I can go for 1 summer.
Yeah.
But it was so hard. And I was like, oh my God. I think that was one of the reasons why I took my education more seriously. I was like,
Yeah.
There's no way that living like this life, it's just not. And it sucks because my parents have to do it every day, but like it's such a difficult life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like working from 5 in the morning all the way till like 5 in the afternoon or evening
Yeah.
outside, and in those conditions, it's like so hard.
What
I
town
tried to live it.
did you live in? Where did your family come from? What city?
So we come from Jalisco.
Mhm.
It's a small rancho called Tlatepusco. And it's funny because the town that we live in here in the United States, it's in Monterey Bay, which is Central California. It's like a very
Yeah.
agriculture area.
Mhm.
The town that I live in, it's called Gonzales, and it is the sister city of the small rancho that I am from in Mexico. So
No way.
everybody from my rancho in Mexico moved there. So like
Wow.
I feel
Oh.
like, yeah, growing up, I lived with like all of my people, like
Oh,
all of
that's
my
unique.
tios, my tias, my
Wow.
cousins. Yeah. So it was very much so like I still lived with
Yeah.
I never, it wasn't until I came to LA that I realized that there was different people. Like not everybody was from Tataposco.
Yeah.
Ah.
And
So you weren't just like completely ripped from your culture because you got
no,
to like,
absolutely not.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Wow,
amazing.
that's
Because I was
beautiful.
going to ask, like, who was left behind, but like, that's so amazing that a lot of these people got to go with you and grow with you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. The only difference is that a lot of the people that lived in my town, they got the amnesty
Mm-hmm.
in the year. I'm not sure what the year was, but my dad was too young to receive it. And
Oh.
so all of them in the time of winter when it's time to go back to like Mexico to visit like their grandparents or just to go back to their hometown, everybody would leave. So from like all of December, the town was always empty because everybody would go back to
Oh.
Mexico. But people like me and my mom and dad who we don't have we're undocumented, we had to stay all year, which was so sad. I was
Yeah.
like, why do
Oh,
we have to stay? Like, why can't we go back? Like,
Yeah.
why can't
right.
we go visit? Yeah.
That's so interesting. And also, I often wondered, like, children of immigrants too. Well, when you're a first generation here, because there's already obviously with parents and children, like there's enough generational gap to have those things. Like even my parents, where I'm like, it's not like it was when you grew up. Like, what are you? It's different now. And then to add the whole layer of like you're growing up in an entirely different country, in another culture, you're going to school, you're being exposed to a life that like they never were at that age. So then I just am curious, like how the dynamics, how that can show up and strain with relationship with your parents or make it stronger. Obviously, it's like, but it's a whole other layer to navigate that a lot of like obviously people who grew up here, whose parents grew up here, don't really have to deal with. Because I would imagine there's like a hard level to watching your kid grow up and then being like they don't even understand what it was like for me growing up because they have it so
Mhm.
good, but you wanted to give them that good life, like.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I feel like there's this thing that my dad always used to tell me. He'd always be like, "You have to do what's convenient to you, not what you like."
Mm.
Mm,
And I battled with him so much with that because it was always like, you can't have fun. You're so different from everybody else. Like you have to do what like is best for us and for our family and for you to like. So
mm,
for him, it was like, there's no way you can't have fun. It was like the we were living in like great sacrifice. Like if we didn't sacrifice all of the fun, we were never going to be successful. And I feel like
Mm.
that was one of the reasons why when I was going to go to college, I decided to move like further away
mm-hmm.
because my dad it was so hard to make him understand that I can live a fun and normal life and be undocumented and be successful in school and
Yeah.
work. And like for him, it was always like, no, 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 no. We have to grind all day.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
once you like become something, then you can have fun. And I'm like, no, dad, I feel like we can do all of it. Like we can grind hard
Yeah.
and we can get good grades in school and we can go out and we can work. Like
Yeah.
that was a struggle. So like parents, I feel like for him, it was like his life was so different. So
Right.
to see me grow up in this type of life, like he was like, he didn't know how to like
Relate.
understand me or like, yeah, he didn't know how to relate to me. So like, I always think about how like I resented my dad for the way that he raised me.
Mm.
And I feel like now as I get older, I start to understand the reason why he did like everything that he did because
Yeah.
um it makes sense. At first I always used to be like, "Oh my god, my dad was so hard on me for what?" But like now I'm like, "Oh my god, he was so hard on me because that's the only way that he knew how to raise me and he
Yeah.
didn't know that he was making a mistake or like not that he was making a mistake, but that he was hurting me because he did it to like the best possible way that he knew he could."
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like throughout the years he is also learning a lot from me. So like
Mm.
he was very machista in a sense that like because I am his only daughter and I'm the firstborn. Like I had to
Mhm.
do like all the cooking or I couldn't go out.
Mhm.
Like and my brother who's 1 year like younger than me, he could do everything and I'd always be like,
Ugh.
That's not fair.
really? Elias can do all of that and I have to like I can't go to the school dance. Oh
Right.
my God.
Right.
I couldn't even go to the school dance. Like, are you serious? Like little things, right? And I just feel
Mhm.
like as I get older, I teach him so much,
Mhm.
like as well, like to unlearn the behaviors or the traumas that he like had instilled in him. And it's like it's so beautiful to see how our relationship has like grown and that we can both understand each other and know that like
Mm.
and I can accept the fact that like he wasn't trying to harm me, that was just
Right.
the way that he knew how to raise me. And
Exactly.
Yeah. He was doing the
now I
best he
feel like
could.
with my younger siblings, they're doing so many things for them that they didn't do for us, but like that's because they just didn't know with us. It was like their
Yeah.
first, in a new country. Like,
Yeah.
how would they know how to do all of
Exactly.
this? Yeah, like who was gonna teach them? Who was gonna teach us? We were both like lost, and it took
I
like a lot of
know.
yeah,
Because
it
then
took a
you and your
lot.
brother are like in school and you're being kind of conditioned into this new culture, even outside
Mhm.
of the home, like with just your peers and your friends. And then you come home and it's like your parents aren't going through the school system, they're
Yeah.
already adults. And then also it's like their way of thinking was proven right to them. Like the reason they were able to get you and your family here is because they did just like work hard and grind but that's how they succeeded. So then it's like of course that's what you would try to teach your kids because that's
Mhm.
what you had to do, but it's like you did get your kids to a point where they don't have to live the exact same life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you were talking about we were talking about peers and like as you talking about the school dance. Like, did you feel when you were meeting kids that were born here, like, did you ever feel a divide when it came to the differences in how everyone was raised? Where you ever felt like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't tell them that I'm undocumented? Did you ever feel that kind of pressure?
No, so the funny thing is that when I got to LA, I realized that a lot of people are scared to or they just have a fear to be like, "Oh, I'm undocumented." And I
Hmm.
feel like when I meet people, that's like my line. I'm
Yeah,
like, "Hey,
yeah,
my name is Dulce Rico and I'm a dreamer."
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
basically
Yeah.
like I say it right off the bat because I feel so comfortable with it, but I think it's because of the reason that I grew up in such a small town where everybody was from where I was from. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Mhm.
nobody judged me. And I remember like a specific time when I was really small and some people from like some of my parents' old friends from like the rancho, they're like, "Oh, like you're Carla and Elias's daughter." And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, are you guys gonna go to Mexico this year?" And I was like, "No, I don't have papers." And then the gentleman he looked at me and he was like, who told this little girl about like papers?
Oh
Like,
my
what? He's
god.
like, what kind of papers? Like toilet paper? And I was like, no, like I can't go to Mexico because I don't have papers. And they were like laughing at me, and I was just like,
Wow.
why are they
You're like,
laughing at me?
"What?"
But yeah, I knew since very early on, and I think also one of the reasons that I knew is because I'm undocumented, but my brother he was born here,
Oh,
Oh.
and
got
so
it.
once he turned 5, it was the first year that he left me for Christmas because he went with my grandma
Oh.
and grandpa to Mexico.
Wow.
Oh my God, when I tell you guys that I used to play our favorite CD and cry in the car because
Oh
I
my
missed my
gosh,
brother.
that's so sad.
It was just like, I would like
That's
cry,
so
like, oh my
cute.
God, why did he leave? Like, he would leave
Yeah.
for a whole month to Mexico with my grandparents. And I was like left alone with my mom and dad. Like, not that I didn't like my mom and dad, but
Yeah.
Right.
why did you guys take my brother? Like, it was just so unfair, you know? And so, like,
Oh.
I grew up knowing that I was undocumented, but I was never scared
Yeah.
Mhm.
because I feel like it's even a power move. Like,
It is.
the fact that now I look back and I've accomplished so much. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so great. Cause I know
Mhm.
that in my and just my immediate family, like my cousins, all my aunts and uncles, siblings, I am one of the like only one. Me and my brother were one of the only ones to go to college. And the difference between me and my cousins is that I had so many barriers, and yet I still like managed to come
Right.
to college. And so all my aunts and uncles, they talk wonders about me. They're like, "Oh, she's the
Mm.
star of the family." She like
Oh,
because I did always like take that into consideration. Not that I had a competition with my cousins or not that anything, but I knew that
right.
things would be much more difficult for me, and I wanted all of my parents' sacrifices to like
Yeah.
to like make sense, like for them to be like, oh my God, like we sacrificed so much, but it was worth it because look at you, you
Yeah.
did like for them, their greatest wish was for me to like go to college, and now I'm in graduate school, and it's just like
I
Yeah.
I
love
did
that.
that for me, but I did it for you guys too because I wanted it to like for your struggles to like be worth it and
Yeah.
like
Well,
And to
let's
see something like tangible, like this is what you did. They made it possible.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like even the craziest thing is like so before Dreamers were even a thing, because it came out in 2000 and
10.
2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Like Obama.
I was a freshman in high school,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
or I was about to be a freshman. No, I was a freshman. And so like I remember that before the Dream Act actually came out, I was always like, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
what's gonna happen when I like have to go to college? Like, how am I gonna
Yeah.
get there? How am I gonna like, cause like under or out of state tuition, like
Mhm.
who's gonna pay for that? Like it was
Right.
just like I was always like, damn, like so I feel like during middle school, I didn't really take school seriously. I was like, dude, it's not gonna matter. Like I'm
Oh
probably gonna
yeah,
have to
because
Right.
do
you're
like
like, what am I gonna do?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have to like work in the fields like my mom and dad or like I don't know. And then so when it came out, I feel like everything kind of changed and I was like, oh my
Hmm.
God, like I have to kind of get serious. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
up until that moment, like I never really thought that I was gonna go to college. And so when the Dream Act came out, my mom was like, oh my God, we gotta apply, like let's make this happen. So like I applied and I feel like everything kind of changed and I was like, if I can go to college, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I started focusing more on school. I did like a bunch of extracurricular like activities and I was just like so active in school because I was like whatever way that I can get there, I'm going to get there, right? And so like paying for school was also kind of like always like how are we going to pay for it?
Right.
But with the Dream Act, I was able to get not federal, but I think it was called like the AB 540
Mm.
tuition. So it basically paid for all of my tuition. And then I
Oh
Wow.
just
wow.
like books and everything else, I had to pay for out of pocket.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, like the difference between me and my brother is that because he is a full citizen, he got both federal and state
Yeah.
tuition
Right.
money. So he would get all kinds of money because my parents don't make anything. Like they make
Mm-hmm.
less than 50.
Mhm.
So I remember being so jealous. I was like, damn, like, what are you gonna do with all that money? Like,
Ugh.
that's crazy. But the fact that I still ended up getting tuition money, I was like,
Yeah.
who would have thought? So like the Dream Act was honestly the best thing that could have ever happened to all of the dreamers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also want to say that you have to be in amazing standing to be able to qualify for the Dream Act.
Really.
Mm.
And even like, besides having to be in amazing standing, you have to pay for it every 2 years.
What? I didn't know
Really?
that.
Yeah. So like every 2 years, you have to pay a $500, like basically
Are
renewal
you
contract fee.
serious?
Yeah. So like I still have to pay to be able to go to school or like to just be able to have an ID, literally, because that's what I have.
$250 a year.
Yeah,
Basically.
$250 a year plus like lawyer fees.
Oh no.
So
This
like
is
yeah,
such
ever since I started doing it, we used to pay like a I don't know if it was like a lawyer or paralegal, like
Yeah.
around that. We had to pay her $450 to do all the processing for me. So like that is basically
Wow.
$1,000 every 2 years to pay for the renewal of the Dream Act. And I know that recently they wanted to do it every year. So every year you were gonna have to pay
No.
the $1,000. And I was just
No.
like,
That is insane. Like on
I
top
did
of
not know that.
everything, like they
Yeah, if
want
you think about it, they make so much
oh
money
my so much.
off of us having to
Wow.
apply every single 2 years,
That's
like
Wow.
insane.
for a work permit and for an ID, basically. And I mean, all the school stuff that was like chef's kiss because
Mhm.
Yeah.
that I didn't expect, and it's sensational. But what I did want to say about like the Dream Act or about my parents and
Yeah.
like me going to school is that now that I'm in my graduate program, my parents have paid for my last 2 semesters.
That's amazing.
And
Wow.
honestly, who would have thought that we as a family would get to the point where they're able to pay for my school? Like
Right.
when we had nothing, like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the craziest thing to think
Wow.
about. And like for my first semester, my parents were like, okay, we're going to pay for it, but then you have to like send us $200 every week so that we have money for your second semester.
Mhm.
And guess what I didn't do? I didn't send them $200 every week. So this second semester, I was like, dude, what am I gonna do? Like, I have to get a loan. Like, what am I gonna do? So I was like figuring it out. And I was gonna get a loan from like somebody that we know who gives loans so that I didn't have to do like the whole
Right.
like with a bank or anything like
Mhm.
that. And then we were talking about how I was probably gonna have to pay interest. Well, I was gonna have to pay interest. And like my mom and dad were like, damn, like the interest, like, and so we were just like, interest kind of suck. And like we were all kind of just like going back and forth. And I was kind of like sad because I was like, damn, like you guys asked me to do one thing, like $200 a
Yeah.
month. And I didn't do it. And now look at me. I'm like sitting here worried because how am I gonna pay for next semester? Right.
Right.
And so I was kind of like in a funk and I hung up the phone with my parents and I was like, oh, like I messed up. I really
Mhm.
did. And then my mom and dad called me 3 minutes later, and my mama was like, "Hey, Chuy," because they call me Chuyita. It's like my little Mexican name. They're like, "Hey, Chuyita, so your dad said that he's gonna give you the $4,000
Oh my
that he got
god.
from his bonus." And he's like, "But they're like, but you have to really send us money." And like,
Oh, I'm like
I feel
emotional.
like it made me just so emotional because I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that makes me want to cry.
yeah, to
Oh
even
my
think
god.
that, yeah, that like one day I was like, dude, what am I gonna do? And to now, like, they literally do everything to support me. And like, it's like crazy because me even coming to LA, they were kind of like, oh, how could we ever let you go? Like, I was there, like everything, like I did everything for them. I'm like their
Yeah.
firstborn. My mom's always talking about how I'm her favorite. Like, so if
Oh.
parents say that they don't have favorites, my mom confirmed that they do, and it's me.
Mom?
And yeah,
Oh,
so ask them.
I was gonna ask. I mean, this literally might be the dumbest question after everything you just said. It might be the dumbest question, but
No.
who are your biggest inspirations? Like, I know you say like, you know, right after the Dream Act came in, that's when you like took school seriously. But was there anybody
Mhm.
that actually like inspired you? Maybe like women, like female role models
Yeah.
too, like that inspired you to like really put some work in and make something of your life.
Yeah, so I do have, I feel like, two people who really inspired me. One's my mom because
Mhm.
I feel like her cards were dealt incorrectly. Like I feel like she's the baddest person I've
Mm.
ever met, and she's so strong and she holds it down for like all of us.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yet she is the happiest woman I've ever met. Like
Really?
she's so happy doing what she does, even though it's the hardest job ever. Like she's like, dude, I love going to work. And she's like, I love this and I love that. And she's always smiling. And I feel like the reason why I'm
Wow.
such a smiley and like happy person is because of her. And she keeps me going. And she's like,
Oh.
there's like this little
Oh.
saying in Spanish that they're like, oh, you have to be at 100, like always at 100. And my mom was always like, you're not at 100, you're at 1,000. So she's just
Aw.
like, she's like my biggest cheerleader, but like my biggest inspiration because the fact that her life isn't the best, she makes it the best because that's the
Mhm.
perspective that she has on it. And she's like, dude, as long as we're healthy,
Yeah.
everything else is like happiness,
See,
right?
that's
Yeah, I know.
oh,
To
it's
take
like perspective and gratitude for things that like
Yeah.
gratitude and things that people take for granted, especially in like developed and first world countries. That is just like this entitlement that people feel like they have to things and to like emotional states. Like, oh, I should be happy. Why I should be happy because, and then just like, but then I don't know. It's like more elusive. Happiness is more elusive the more you have. I feel like because you lose perspective on like what your mom like keeps that at the center of her mind. That's so admirable.
Yeah, and I love it, and, like, it's something that she does so well because I feel like they always say, like, at your house or my mom thinks this, that she's like, "I'm the one who sets the tone for, like, the
Mm-hmm.
house." So, like, if I'm in a bad mood, everybody's gonna feel it or everybody's gonna be in a bad mood. So it's about how you, like, set the tone for your household, and I feel like she
Yeah.
does such a good job of pushing us and making us, like, realize that, like, we're happy and we're healthy. There's nothing else in this world that can't be fixed but death.
Mm-hmm.
And she always says that. And I feel like sometimes I'm like, Mom, like this happened to me. She's like, why are you like overreacting? And then so like I always think of her, I'm like, dude, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
yeah, and she inspires me because she's just such a strong like woman. And I had a teacher. Her name is Miss Rader.
Mm.
She was my seventh grade science teacher, and then she moved with us when we went to high school. So when we went
Oh,
to high school, she
fun.
became
I love that.
our science high school teacher. And she's a white lady, but she's like the best white lady I've ever met in my life because
Mm-hmm.
she like she loved us, like not just me, but everybody who like lived in my town, and those were all my paisanos. Those were all the Mexican people.
Mm-hmm.
Like she treated us so well, and she pushed us. She pushed us so much every single day.
Mm.
When the Dream Act came out, she was like, Dulce, what's up? What are we gonna do? How are you gonna get it together? How are we gonna go to college? So she was, I think, the reason not I think she's the reason why I decided to be a teacher, because I want to be who she was for me too.
Oh my
Somebody who
gosh.
thinks that they're not gonna be,
I have
or that they're not
chills.
gonna like reach their goals. Cause I feel like she made me believe it. And like always
Yeah.
having her like here in my ear, like telling me like, dude, you're gonna go to college. You're gonna college one way or
Yeah.
another. Like whatever we have to do, we're gonna do it.
Ugh.
She helped me apply. She helped me in so many things. I remember one year I was kind of sad because I wanted to be in cheer, but
Mm-hmm.
the uniforms were kind of expensive, and I was like, "Oh, Miss Reader, but I'm not gonna be able to do it. Like, I really want to be in cheer, but my mom and dad said that they're not gonna have enough money to like pay for their cheerleading
Mm-hmm.
uniform." This lady paid for my whole cheerleading
Oh.
uniform, everything, like
Oh my God.
$400.
Oh my
And like
God.
she didn't have to do that, but I feel like she was so kind and so caring, and she like took teaching to a next level where she made you feel
Yeah.
like so comfortable. And I know that a lot of people, they experience like they had traumatic experiences in school where they felt like unwanted or isolated or like misunderstood, but she made us feel like that was a safe space for us. And I was
Wow.
like, when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Yeah.
And so like that's I think one of the people who like inspired me the most in terms of like education and academics, and like
Mm-hmm.
because she knew like, yeah, my mom inspires me, but my mom, she knows not about like the outside world. No,
Yeah.
not that she doesn't know about the outside world, but she doesn't know about the world that I decided to enter into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Miss Rader, she knew about this world of education that was like where I was headed to.
Mm-hmm.
And so like she's always the person I call. She's always the person I talk to.
Still, you still
yeah,
talk to
still.
her. I love
Really?
this.
Still, yeah. She is
Oh
like
my gosh.
she is such a great person.
I hope she
and
listens to this episode, because that story
Me
you just told
too.
makes me want to cry. Like, you've told at least 3 stories that are making me close to
Yeah,
tears.
I'm
Yeah.
like wow, that's amazing. What's her name? Say
Her
Miss
name
Rader?
is Tina Rader.
Oh my
And so
God.
like after I graduated high school, I started calling her, "What's up, Tina?" And she'd be like, you cannot call me that. And I'm just like, "You're no longer Miss Rader, you're Tina." And she just like was like, "You're out of one of the things she would always say, she's like, "You're out of control."
It's so,
And like
go ahead, yeah.
no, like now we go back and like I tell her like all my crazy college stories, and it's so crazy that we can connect to like a person like that. Like she was just like my teacher, and now
Yeah.
she's like literally like a best friend. And
Aw.
I
and like
love this.
yeah, she got me through so much, and I feel like I want that. And I think one of the things that I hate is when like I tell people like, "Oh yeah, I want to be a history teacher." And they're like, "Ew, history?" And I'm like,
Uh,
"What do you mean, ew, history?" And then they're like, You're not going to get paid anything." And I was like, "Funny of you to think that I want to teach because of money. Like I want to teach because of humanity or like
Yeah.
yes.
changing society and like being the hope that or in the faith that that lost like student needs." Like
Yes.
I've never been like, "Oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna make so much money," and like
I mean,
I'm
who
money hungry. Like,
well, like who in this right? My parents are both teachers. My mom elementary school, and then my dad was a college professor. But it's like nobody goes into that profession to make money because it's one
yeah,
of the atrocities of our society is that teachers don't make shit. You can be a professional athlete and make enough for your future like 4 generations, but if you're going to teach those next 4 generations, you're not going to make anything. It's like
yeah,
they should be make it should be one of the highest paid careers, honestly. It should be, but obviously it's not. And then if you go into that, you're doing it because you want to make a difference. And that
Mhm.
what you just said too, about her like constantly being in your ear and constantly being like, how are you going to do this? So we're going to make this happen. And saying, even using those words like, we are going to get you to college. We're going to,
hmm,
it's like, especially at that age when you just are like, well, how am I going to do this? And, obviously you had a supportive family as well, but they didn't understand exactly how your childhood was. And a lot of kids don't even have that supportive family. And so to have someone on the outside that's really like letting you know consistently that they're in it with you and you have help is so powerful.
exactly. Yeah, she made it like a group project. Like she's
Yeah.
like, "We're doing this like one way or another." And so
hmm
and I feel like being from a small town, it's like you look forward to leaving and like
Mhm.
Yes.
doing something so phenomenal. Like you're like, yeah, I'm gonna leave because you're in a small town. Like there's really like nothing to do, you know?
hmm
And so like she just didn't push me. She pushed everybody. Like she was always like so helpful. And um I just I don't think I'll ever have the words to thank her enough for like pushing me and for like just like believing in me. Cause they always say like you need somebody to believe in you. And then like,
Yeah.
yeah, because when somebody believes in you, you're like, you're right. Like
Yeah.
I
It
could. And then you start to
changes
believe in
everything.
yourself. And once you
Yeah.
believe in yourself, like nothing can stop you. You're just like up there.
It's so
Exactly.
true.
Yeah. And like college was tough. Like I remember sitting
Yeah.
sometimes in class and especially because I feel like not to talk about like my high school, but they weren't like the best. It wasn't like the best. And I know they struggled like to
Mhm.
keep
Yeah.
teachers. There's my math teacher, one of them, I don't even want to say his name because it's rude, but like he was terrible. Like we wouldn't do anything educational in class. I
Yeah.
hmm
remember sitting in I had to do remedial math when I first entered college. I remember sitting in
Same.
class and yeah,
Don't
and
worry.
being like,
I'm so bad about
what where did I learned nothing in high school. So like even that was difficult, like, having to
hmm
actually learn, you were like, "Oh my God, I didn't know any of this." And,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I feel like coming to LA was one of the best decisions that I ever made because it opened me up to, like, diversity,
hmm
something that I knew nothing about. And then, like, I also learned about how some people do have a lot of fear. A lot of people, like, in my situation, like,
Yeah.
I
Oh
remember,
yeah.
yeah, I'm like how I'm super open about it and like it's like my opening line. I had one of my because I was in a sorority,
hmm
DeFi, we're the unicorns.
Yeah.
I had one of my sorority sisters like tell me a year after I had met her, she's like, Dulce, like, I just want to let you know that like honestly, I look up to you because I'm also like DACA and like hearing how you're so like confident about it and how like you're so proud of being DACA, like it's just like so inspiring because she's like, I've been scared. Like
Wow.
nobody knows that.
Oh.
Like, yeah. And so like then like as I go through my like years of college, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of like dreamers. It's not just me, but like
Yeah.
everybody's scared to talk about it because you do live
Wow.
in a fear. Yeah, you live in a fear that like, who knows, tomorrow they take the Dream Act away and like, what are we gonna do? Like, how are we
Yeah.
gonna
Right.
work?
What year?
Are they gonna kick us out? Because they already know that we're here and that we're undocumented. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? So like I feel like even though I'm not like super scared, there's still that insecurity that
Of
if they take it
course.
away, what are we gonna do? Cause I remember one time my work permit expired and they didn't fire me, but they're like, hey homegirl, you can't work. And I was like, what do you mean I can't work? They're like, yeah, your permit expired. And my mom was like, I told you. I told you to renew it. So like I couldn't work for literally 3 weeks because
Wow.
my new one hadn't come in. So it's like serious stuff if you think about it.
It
And my dad's
is.
always like, they already know where you're at.
Oh
Like,
my
that's
God.
why
He doesn't say.
I'm like, you're so annoying, but don't say that. But like,
But
yeah, because it's unstable. We don't know. Are they gonna keep it?
Yeah.
Are they
Yeah,
not?
were
And you
Yeah.
don't have control. Like it's completely out of your hands. And then you're just like,
yeah.
see,
Were you
that's
like
so-
more scared during like the Trump presidency? Like was that like around that time where there was a lot of conversation, especially during the election, when we kept saying like Mexicans, they're bringing over the worst, they're bringing over the rapists, like Jesus Christ, like it was so much, and it was fucking horrifying to hear in the news all the time. Like did you and your family have like a kind of a shift in, I don't know, security, or did you guys get a little kind of nervous when that was going on?
Yeah, I think that we were nervous, but we didn't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
for example, I would not watch the news. I'd be
Yeah.
like, no, why am I gonna like torment myself by watching this? Because I feel like you take it personal. I feel like I take it
Yes.
personal because I feel like one of the things that I have like personally with my hurt or like my feeling when my feelings get hurt in this country is the fact that like I've lived here all my life and you guys don't want to accept me as a country, yet I don't know anything about Mexico. So where am I from?
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember learning in Chicano studies that there's like a term, there's like a space, right? Like we live in a in between space because we're neither from here or from there.
Mm.
So like to find, or like I feel like dreamers often have like not like identity issues, but like there's just so much because you're just
Yeah.
like, where am I from? Where am I accepted? Like, where do I belong to if
Yep.
I gave everything for this country. I'm like, for example, me, I'm like, dude, I'm such a good citizen. Like,
Yeah.
I'm educated. I'm a good person. Like, I do everything right.
contribute
Like I
to
work.
society. Yeah.
Yeah, like I contribute to society in like every way possible, and yet you don't want to accept me. Like you don't want to give me all the cool what is the word I'm looking for? Like access
like
that everybody all other Americans
privileges.
have.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so what do I have to do to earn my spot that
Right.
I feel like I have earned it because I'm already doing so much more than the other.
Yes.
Not to bash on anybody else, but there's other Americans who aren't contributing to society who are like doing
There's a
bad stuff
whole
or
lot of 'em.
criminals.
It's a
Exactly.
lot of them.
Yeah,
That's
and then
the
you have
thing.
this person who's like doing everything that you asked for, and yet you don't want to represent me or you don't want to give me my like
Right.
citizenship. Like it's just like it's annoying and it's like hurtful. Like
Yeah.
that you don't that what's my place? Like where am I from? Like
Yeah.
Especially like, oh, it's infuriating. It's so infuriating. And then you know, you've been here your whole entire life. So you next to, like me, if we're born on the same day, like I was born here, you came here at like 1 year old. We have the exact same cultural references our whole way through growing up, going to school with our peers. Like we are Americans. Like we are both peers. We both grew up here and had the same cultural context in our childhood. Like
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. So it makes no sense. And it's the most, I mean, obviously it's just the everything in this country is built on racism. And so it's just like
Exactly.
it seeps in everywhere. But exactly what you just said is so infuriating because there's so many, you and then like so many people that are in your same situation are these like doing incredible things for society and just
Yeah.
these like incredibly beautiful people, productive members of this country. And then there's people that are just sitting in their rooms playing video games or like going on killing sprees who are American. You know, it's just that there's
Yeah.
no sense. No
yeah,
sense.
it makes absolutely
And it's
no
like it doesn't
sense.
even
And
matter. I mean, you are doing so much and you've accomplished so much, and it's the thing with DACA and immigrants in general. It's like they don't even have to prove their worth. You know what I mean? To be able to be American or call themselves American, especially like you've been here since you were 1 year old. This is your life. Like I would even say, like, you don't have to do shit. You're American. Like, to me, like, you can do
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you want. But like on top of that, you are working your ass off to essentially prove your spot to whoever, to the lawyer that you have to pay like $1,000 every 2 years. It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's just that whole idea of the American dream, like the myth of the American dream, because
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're dreamers, but like our dreams are like constantly being like shut down. Like, nope, nope, nope,
Yep.
nope,
yeah.
nope, nope. So like, is the American dream real? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like we're talking about this concept in class called integrate intergenerational trauma,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
which basically, yeah, explains how like we have trauma through DNA.
Yes.
Oh, we've
I'm
and
talked,
so
through-
we've had
interested in
episodes
this.
on this. We were obsessed with this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and through environmental influences, which is
Mhm.
like sadly like our parents like kind of like
Oh,
project their trauma onto
Right.
us.
oh, yeah.
And then it talks about like being resilient, right? And like how we learn to be resilient. And I feel like all of my life, resilience was just like
Hammered into.
hammered into me, like goals, work,
Mhm.
money, like I feel like awesome. It's made me a great working person, but like what about all the trauma? Like, what about
Yeah.
unlearning all of this? Or what about all the bad feelings?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
resilient and like I've managed to like move past it and to want to do all of this. But like, why did you guys have to make it so hard, America? Like,
Right.
100%.
And still.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's like, how many things do you have to juggle at once? Like, not only do you have the fear for you or your family and like what's going to happen at any time. Will I have to go back to a place I've never, I don't know.
Right.
What am I gonna do when I step foot in Mexico and I've never been there?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all these
Eh.
financial worries. It's just like it doesn't matter. And then whatever stigma that the media or like other people have about what an immigrant is, and
Mhm.
it's just like everything that you've accomplished. It's just so amazing because you've had all those things being carried on your back and you've still done it, and like
Yeah.
I just think it's so amazing that you even had like your mom and that teacher to keep to be on your
Yeah.
side and remind you that like, no, you've got all it takes. You can do it.
Yeah.
That's
and my
amazing.
mom always used to say, I don't want you to ever feel like you're different from anyone else. Like whatever you want to do, you can do it. And she's kept that promise to me ever since she said that
Oh.
to me when I was gonna like come to college. And like they've literally done everything they could to have me live here and live the life that I want to live. And I feel like I had a like heart to heart with my dad this Christmas that made me look at things so differently, because he told me that like his cousins, like my uncles and like people are always like, why do you guys like have her living over there if she can easily come to school here?
Mm.
And then my dad was just like, that's what makes her happy and that's what she wants to do. And I feel like that to
Wow.
me was like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
my dad is basically breaking like all of the like machismo and just like
Yeah.
generational roles or like anything that he's ever believed to see me happy and to like make sure that his child lives the life that she wants to live. And
Yeah.
I was just like,
That's so
dude,
moving.
thank you. Yeah. Like, thank you for defending me and thank you for like believing in me and thank you for doing everything in your
Mhm.
power to like have me here, because my parents are literally agriculture workers. Like they barely make
Yeah.
anything, and everything that they have, they like give to me. And it's just like crazy because I remember I used to think like, oh my God, like my parents, like they like don't even support me. They don't even do this and they don't even do that. And every single day I'm like, I realize it, and I see how other people, how their relationships are with their parents, or how like a lot of people's parents
Yeah.
don't help them or like
Yeah.
financially or even like emotionally. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm so lucky. And to think that I ever thought that my parents didn't support me when
Mhm.
they literally do everything. And even in
Yeah.
the position that they are, where they have so little, yet they give me so much. And to me,
Yeah.
that's like everything. And I don't think I'll ever have enough to thank them for like everything that they do for me. And like
Mhm.
they're just getting like they're doing everything to get me an education because that's what they believe is like a successful life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people are like, fuck education or like,
No,
like
100%.
school sucks. But like to my parents, that's everything. Like
Yeah.
they
And
already like
they see that you are
they
happy.
their mission in life has been completed with
Yeah.
me.
Oh my gosh.
So when
This is
when
Yeah.
when do you graduate? Because you're in grad school now.
Yeah.
When
I graduate in what year are we in? 2022.
2022.
I graduated in spring of 2023 from
Okay.
graduate school.
Exciting.
However, I'm also trying to enter the master's program for Chicano studies
Oh,
that's going to start next
wow.
fall. Because I know that you can kind of do, because the graduate program that I'm in right now, it's to obtain teaching credentials,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
still don't have a master's. So they've been telling me at school that it's better for me to like do it at the same time so that I'm not more time in
Yeah.
school and I
Yeah.
can just kind of like group classes together.
Mhm.
And if I start doing that, I'm just gonna be like really doing that thing. Like I'm really gonna be just like knocking classes out and going to
Yep.
school and
Oh my God, yeah.
getting a master's. Oh my
Yes.
God, who would have thought?
See,
Who would have
this is
thought?
it kind of so you know, you were talking earlier about like does the American dream even exist because of all of the flaws in the system and that's a very I think like as a white American too, I'm like jaded because I hate so much of how this country is structured and run, and so it's easy for me like it doesn't exist. Why do we think we're not the greatest country? We're definitely not the greatest country, and like we
Mhm.
do all this shit and all this shit is wrong, and so I have so much criticism for that term, the American dream, and then at the same time when you're describing what your dad, like what your parents see in you and what, I mean, would you say that to them? They would say, yes, it does exist because look at my daughter. Like this is the
Mm.
American dream. We came here and we did this and that is proof of it.
Yeah, I think for them it's been fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and it's crazy too because I feel like it feels so near to their heart because out of my parents' siblings, so both my mom and my dad's side, they each have like 5 or 6 sisters, which
Mm-hmm.
we're really close to. But my dad is the only one in his family who's undocumented
Mm.
because his siblings and even his parents have citizenship. But because my dad was married when my grandpa became a citizen, we have an application to obtain citizenship, but because when a grandpa does it for his son,
Mm.
his married son, the wife, and the daughter, those cases are backed up until like
Wow.
the 1990s. So like you know how like you have to wait your
Wow.
turn
Mhm.
until you're gonna be like interviewed or like in
Yeah.
the process of citizenship. So those cases are backed up. So my dad is the only one in his family who doesn't have citizenship. And I'm like the only one of the grandkids who doesn't have citizenship. And then my mom is the kind, two of her sisters don't have citizenship, but like
Mm-hmm.
the other ones are kind of like the process is moving a lot faster than us. And I feel
Mhm.
like for my parents, it just feels like they've succeeded because both of their kids, their oldest kids, are both going to college. I'm now in a graduate program, and my brother goes to Chico State. And so
Wow.
for them, it's like we
They
really
did it.
did that.
Yeah.
Like we
Did
got
it.
you guys to go to college, and like you guys are living your dream, and that's all they wanted as parents. That's like the
Mhm.
reason they moved over here so that we can have a better life. And to them, us being educated and us being independent and us doing everything that we're doing, that is
That's
success.
it.
So I think for them, it is fulfilled. I don't think
Mhm.
like for themselves because they
Right.
kind of like they live comfortably though. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
like they do. Like they're at a position
Mhm.
now. Like my parents live in their 4-bedroom house. It's not theirs, but they rent it at a pretty like
Mhm.
cheap rate, and like
Mhm.
they live comfortably with my 2 brothers, and then they have us at
Aw.
college. Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
a dream! Like they live the life that I'm sure they're so proud of it. Like
Yeah.
they're so proud of me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would always get mad because I'd be like, dude, my dad doesn't tell me that he's proud of me. He didn't tell me up until this Christmas,
Yeah.
last
Oh
Christmas, like
gosh.
3 months ago. But before that, my mom would be like, dude, all he can talk about is you. Like whenever we're out
Oh.
with family, he's like, yeah, Chuyita, she's like doing so good. Like she's like
Oh.
finishing school. Like he's like she was like, you think that he doesn't care, but you're his pride and joy. Like, you're all he can talk about. And I was just like, but why doesn't he tell me? And then, like, for Christmas Eve, when we had a heart to heart, he told me that he thought I was the most hardworking, independent, and like sensational woman that's ever lived.
Oh
And
my
then I
God.
was just like, oh my God, you think this of me? Like, and then
Yeah.
that's when I realized, like, that, like, knowing that he thought that of me was everything that I needed to know. Because
Everything.
now I don't doubt it. Because I feel like I
Yeah.
always doubted, like, am I doing enough? Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I like not doing things right? Because like my dad wouldn't tell me that he was proud of me. But once he told me, everything was like lifted off my shoulders, and I was like,
Yeah.
I have been doing it right, and I am doing it right. And like, I've always been really confident in what I'm doing and who I am as a person and how I present myself.
Yeah.
But knowing that he believed that, and then he also
Oh.
said something else. He was like, all I've ever wanted was for you guys to be the light that somebody else needs. Like, for you guys to be the good people that help someone who's broken. And to know that my father, like, he raised us with that intention, that we were
Mhm.
gonna be the light of someone else's life. I was like, I am doing it right, because
Wow.
I've decided to become a teacher who's gonna
That's your
help people.
literal goal.
Yeah, and so like, that's when I was like, dude, he did everything right. Even though I
Yeah.
complained and I was like, oh my God, my dad, he's like, he doesn't show emotion. Like, he did it correctly, because
Yeah, he did.
I am the person that he wanted me to be. And like,
Yeah. He's doing his
it
best.
felt so great. Yeah, it felt so great to like know that he feels accomplished and that he was so proud of me. And I was just like, oh my God.
That kills me. That like opens my heart wide open. That is the sweetest.
Yeah.
It's so, especially with like dads too, you know, like father-daughter stuff always gets me, but
Yeah.
it's just like the fact that he, you know, you mentioned when you were growing up and it was this mentality kind of to you of like, well, you can't like go have fun and just do all these fun things. You have to, and it's frustrating when, especially when you're growing up and you're like,
Yeah.
that's what do you mean? But then that he even like views it, he put those views aside, like you said, like that kind of machismo, like, well, no, actually, and then will defend to his own family, will defend you in that way based, and his justification is your own happiness, not like his ego getting in the way. It's like all he needs to say is like, that's what makes her happy. Like, what? Of course.
Yeah.
Like, why? What else do I have to say? That is such an evolved perspective, and like he really, that's such real love that melts my heart.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm so proud of him, because he's opened up his mind to like these new, not ideas, but like something that he culturally just didn't believe in, because that's
Yeah.
not what he was like taught to believe. And so now like he's expanding his mind, and I couldn't be like more proud of like the progress that he's made to unlearn like all the
Yeah.
just negative like perspective or like ideas or beliefs of like the Mexican culture, which is machismo.
Mhm.
And I feel like to a certain extent, me and my mom kind of were always like, he's still a little machista, because I feel like sometimes my mom's like, a homeboy thinks he's gonna control me. Like, we just kind of like, we'll talk about him kind of on the low key, me and my mom, because he's like, you're gonna be the most independent, strong woman that doesn't ever need a man. Like, he gets mad if I'm like, oh, I kind of want a boyfriend. Like, or I'll say, you know, silly stuff. And he's like, you don't need a man. Like, you're independent. You like, can fend for yourself. Yeah. And so he's so about me never needing anyone.
Mhm.
But then like, sometimes he'll like be like kind of controlling with my mom, and mom's like, keep that same energy. Keep that
Yeah.
same energy. The energy that you want for your daughter, like treat me the same way. Cause sometimes he tries to act a little like,
Yep.
you know, still machista. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? And I remember I seen a TikTok that said like, he thinks he could play me. He doesn't know that I argue with my dad. And, so, like, and it's funny because it's true. Like,
So true.
I find myself like, and it's not that I disrespect my dad.
Yeah, of course.
I
No,
feel like
but yeah.
I argue with him in a way that I'm just like, hold on, hear me out.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah. You're
I
holding
learned
your
all
ground.
of this, and I think that you need to hear it, and I think that you need to open up your mind to it, and I think that you need to like
Yeah.
really listen. And so me and my dad have a lot of conversations where I'm kind of teaching him, and like,
Mhm.
but I never like talk down to him, or I'm like, oh, you're dumb,
Yeah.
or nothing like that. But I'm like, Dad, hear me out and understand me. And like, he's funny because he's like, now he's always like, I'm not machista, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like he wants to be like cool and like open
Yeah.
minded.
Yeah.
But like, do you remember 5 years ago when you like didn't believe this? So like it's just like funny, but
To
like
see the progression.
it's so great. Yeah, to see
Yeah.
that he like that they're my mom has always been super chill. Like I have nothing to complain about her. I feel like she always gave us all the love that my dad kept reserved to him. Like
Yeah.
The
she would just went
unexpressed
above
love.
and beyond that. Like even though my dad kind of lacked it, my mom made up for it. So she's always been super chill, super like
Yeah.
dream as big as you want, baby girl, because like you're gonna make it happen. And then my dad, it took him a while, but he's at that stage, and
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see that,
I
and
love that.
to see how as children, as like you're their children, you can teach them so much. They just have to be open to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it takes time, but everybody gets there, and it's amazing because
I
then you can
love
talk more
Yeah.
about
Yep.
everything. Yeah.
On like a mutual like respect level of no longer them worrying about having to raise you right because you're already raised. Like you already are the person they created now and raised you to be. And so then if they can have a little distance and then see you as like your own person and as an adult and then start to have those conversations like you said where it's always a respect and love is there with your parents. So it's not like, no, you're wrong, you need to see, but I think that speaks really highly to your parents too, because a lot of adults and a lot of like my friends' parents that I know too aren't really open to, they're just stuck in their ways and they're not really
Yeah.
open to like learning from their kids, especially, but even like new perspectives, it's like when you're however 50, 60, it's easier to just like, no, this is the way the world is. And definitely my kid isn't going to tell me anything different. But the parents who do maintain that ability to kind of evolve and grow and learn from their kids, I think is beautiful. Because like you said, then you can have that dynamic with each other where you're like, you're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the things that I pride myself for is that my parents, they know me because they know like everything. Like I'm so open with them and like even just silly stuff. Like I'll call them like the next morning when I'm hungover and I'll be like, bro, like last night was a movie, like type of vibes. Like I just be saying like silly stuff. Like I guess even one time on my birthday that, which is kind of inappropriate, but my mom said that I had FaceTimed her on my birthday with all my friends were like here in my apartment and I was fucked up or I was super drunk and I don't remember, but she called me the next day. She's like, do you remember when you called like FaceTime me yesterday and you were like drunk? And I was like, no. And then she was like, I bet they poked your butt and you didn't even know. And I was like, Mom, like, what are you saying? Like, she's just so like funny and
so
like
funny.
like
But it's so
she's like,
relatable.
That it was your drunk instinct to call your parents.
yeah, like what was I thinking? But then
I love that.
they took it so well, like
Yeah.
and I think that's so beautiful because I always used to be like, isn't it crazy that your friends know you more than your parents do? Because like that's like just the reality of it. Because but why? Because our parents make us so scared
Of telling them
to
the truth.
be able to tell them stuff, right? So I think that's like one of the things that my dad hates about like me and my siblings is that we always go to my mom first, and he's like so butthurt.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys always go to her. Nobody ever calls me. And like every time I call my dad, he's like, yeah, what do you need? Like, what's wrong? Like, do you need money? And I'm just like, chill. Like, I'm just trying to talk. Like, I'm
Like,
just trying
Dad,
to talk.
I just need Advil. I'm hungover.
Yeah, like
Yeah, my dad has that too.
yeah, like it's literally nothing. But why? And my mom's like always tells him, but why do you think it's like that? It's because you've always been so like easy to judge instead of hearing them out. And I feel like so that's one of the reasons why he's also gotten better at just listening. Like he'll be like, oh, what's wrong? And then like we tell him the story and he holds like his words back to not be so judgmental.
Yeah.
And like I think that's so important. Like when it comes to like having like a good relationship with your parents is like for your parents to like let you know that you like it's a safe space, like that you can talk to them about these things, and that way they don't keep all this stuff from you, and that way you like actually get to know them, because like people could go years without knowing who their son is but why? Because you like instilled this fear and like all this like trauma. So like people don't want to tell you stuff if they feel judged or like they feel like what's the point? But I feel like with my parents, it's like I call them and I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling this type of way, or like anytime I'm feeling sad, because like I'm known to be by my friends and by my family and by everybody the happiest person on
Yeah.
earth. And so like if I ever have a little attitude or if I'm not smiling, everybody's like, "What's wrong?" You're like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Bro, let me be sad. Like I could be sad too." And so like I
I'm
do get waves
human.
of sadness. Yeah, I get waves of sadness
Mhm.
sometimes. And I honestly I just call my mom and my mom's like, well, like, why is that like even important though? Like, look at the bigger picture. And like suddenly it's like it goes away. Like
Mhm.
they're
Mm.
so like good at making me feel
But I was gonna say, I mean, like we're talking about family and like everything you're saying is just so relatable. And I like, is there anything that you wish that the media knew about the immigrant family and DACA recipients that
Hmm.
you don't think is being portrayed or talked about enough?
Everything the whole interview.
Yeah, true.
yeah, all of it.
True.
Please pay attention.
True.
Right.
No, I think I guess nobody will ever understand the next person's life and how hard it is for them to be where they're at. Because, like, I feel like if something's not happening to you, you're like, that doesn't matter. It's not affecting me, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
But I feel like as a community and as a society, I feel like it would be so nice and so helpful for people to be more supportive of immigrant students because we're literally doing our best and we're literally like unrecognized in a society where we give so much.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I give so much for my society just to not be recognized. And I feel like
Mhm.
my family does too. And why are you guys setting us out to be not important or
Mhm.
criminals or people who don't matter when we do matter and we do give so much back and we like are a part of your society. So I feel like recognition would be
Yeah.
nice. Or like just even knowing. I feel like I met this guy one time that's like, wow, I had no idea your parents even did taxes. And I was like, what do you like?
Mhm.
Of
Oh
course
yeah.
we do taxes. Like,
Yeah.
of course they take money away from my parents' check
Of course.
every single week
Mhm.
to get nothing in return. Because
Exactly.
my parents aren't
Like,
gonna
oh,
get
you're not a citizen, but we'll take your money and for our
yeah.
government.
And you can't vote.
Exactly.
You can't vote. Yeah.
You can't vote, you can't do anything. So I feel like it's even harder on my parents because they're not gonna get pension, they're not gonna get
Mhm. Social
any
Security.
benefits, Social Security, and which sucks because they have the hardest labor working
Yep.
jobs when they're 60 and their bones are literally hurting and like their
Mhm.
hands, they can't move them anymore. Like, how are they gonna sustain themselves? Like, I think that's one of my biggest fears. Like, who's gonna help them out?
Yeah.
Or how are they like not they're not gonna have any security.
Like the
Any
country that they
security.
just spent like decades giving to and working for and paying taxes to, like all of these things
Mhm.
just leaves you like with nothing.
Yeah, empty handed and it's crazy. And I feel like it's just like what
Yeah.
does it take like what why is it so hard for you guys to give us citizenship? Like what are we
Yeah.
taking from you? Like
Right.
what like I don't know. It's just something that I feel like I don't understand and
Yeah.
I would love to understand. And I'm just like, what's going
No,
on
it's so
here?
true.
Like
And you know, before we let you go, like I want to ask, like on the same vein, it's like, what kind of advice would you give to other immigrants? You know, that like know that it's hard and know that it's like, hey, they could be. I'm gonna come over there. It's gonna be so hard for me to get my papers and get my citizenship. I'm gonna be. They're gonna be taking money out of my paychecks. And I might not even have pension out of this. Like, do you have advice for people that are just so scared, but like they know that this country will have better opportunity for them?
I think mm, something that my mom loves to say is like there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And there's like so much like that's so true because honestly, like don't be afraid. I feel like being afraid holds you back from so many things. Like
Mhm.
even like immigrant people, like I know that there is fear because it is so real that ICE can come at any time or that just anything can be ripped out of your hands. Like you can be ripped out of the country or like you're like nothing is guaranteed for us, like nothing at all.
Yeah.
But I think like just not being scared and taking the risk is so important and so essential, and like literally just do it. Because I
Yeah.
feel like it's all about the risk, but once you take it and you succeed, there's nothing more beautiful than like knowing you did that.
Mhm.
And like honestly, I'm living unguaranteed, but I'm living good, knowing
Mhm.
that like, yeah, things are kind of tough, but like we're here and we're living and we're doing it, and like it's beautiful right now. Tomorrow's never promised anyway, so like let's live the day, and like let's like
Yeah.
achieve what we want to achieve, like today, tomorrow. Like it's fine. I feel like
Mhm.
nobody should be scared, or and maybe it's easier for me to say because I feel like I understand this world that I live in because I've grown up in it. And so like for
Mhm.
me it's just like so easy to blend into like
Mhm.
Right.
the regular American because I speak the language, and
I mean, you
I know
are.
like I know my ways around. Yeah, I know
Mhm.
everything. And like for maybe like an immigrant person that just gets here, it's like so much more difficult,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I feel like throwing yourself out there matter, like it's just it makes that much of a difference. Like don't be
Yeah.
afraid. And I know that for a lot of Mexicans, like it's even scary just to try to speak English because people are gonna make fun of you. But
Mhm.
like who
Mhm.
cares what people say? Like that accent is beautiful, and like
Yeah.
show it and use it, and like wanna like I think it's important to like just not be afraid of those little things because they don't matter. And like
Mhm.
honestly, most of the people here speak Spanish anyways. So
Yeah.
like y- you're gonna be okay and it's gonna be good. And if you guys need a
Yeah.
little extra advice, just call me up.
Yeah, for real. I
Ugh.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for this conversation. I
Yeah.
feel like it's deeply inspiring for anyone to listen to, but it's just like the more that people are educated, even on this program, like the fact that you have to pay every 2 years, like even
Yeah, I
that
don't
kind
know.
of stuff, all the way down to like what your family's actual experience is and what the lessons your parents taught you and the lessons they're learning from you. I mean, I'm really grateful that you came on and you're so open with us and just like shared all of that with us. Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
thank you guys for having me. I'm
Of
so
course.
excited.
Yeah, this has been, I want to have you back on.
Yeah, seriously. I
Well,
still have chills.
I have chills. I fell in love.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't, I am so taken with her
Yeah, me
and
too.
her story. And the thing is, like, she's not, there's so many people like her in
Oh
this
yeah.
country that are that much of a light and like that kind, that warm, that intelligent, that all of these things that people strive to be, that more than a lot of natural born Americans are not even. So my
Mhm.
level of infuriation, fury
Yeah.
towards this country is, I mean, I know,
Yeah.
well, it's interesting because it's like, accept, I know that there's so many beautiful things about this country. I am grateful to be here and to be an American for so many reasons. I don't want that to be misconstrued.
Mhm.
And like, but at the same time, it's like you hear these stories and it's just like,
You
well,
have
it's
to
also
hold.
showing, well,
Yeah.
it's great that this country provided this for her parents. And yet at the same time, I want to like, it's so embarrassing. It's mortifying how our country handles this and treats people like
Yeah, it's shameful. And like
it's
we
shameful.
can love this place but also want to hold it accountable. Like
Mhm.
I mean we're not blind, we're not stupid, and to not ho- to not hold like a magnifying glass and in
Yeah.
some way, or I'm not saying like we're doing the Lord's work or anything, but like
But we are.
yeah, but I mean I'm so grateful to have her on here just to like, I mean, we were learning so much from
Yeah.
her about that experience, and then just the stories that she was telling about her parents and her teacher and how amazing they are
Mhm.
and how they persevere and like at what cost too, because they've sacrificed so
Yeah.
much. It's like, it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, it's so shameful that like these beautiful, beautiful lights, this beautiful, beautiful family ever has to live in fear makes me infuriated.
Well, and like, when people say, like a lot of times over the years when I've gone on rants about racism in this country, which more than a few times,
Mm,
and there's always somebody that comments or It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why do you hate America? Why do you hate America?
Yeah.
And what I have, I mean, what I started saying, because I'm like, it's because I love this country that I feel the need to critique it and make it better and improve upon it. Because why do parents discipline their kids?
Yeah.
Because they love them and they have stake in who this kid grows up to be.
Yeah.
They are invested in who this kid becomes.
Yeah.
And that's out of their love, whether it's misguided or, it can be hurtful, it can be angry, all of these things. But
Yeah.
like, I do love this country and therefore I care about how it evolves and how it grows.
Yeah.
And and then us showing that. So our critique, our criticism and, like you said, holding a mirror up to ourselves in this country and showing the flaws is not hatred. It's because of the love we have for it and because we care about its evolution.
Yeah. And that metaphor goes both ways too. It's like your parents. It's like you can't, and she, also to piggyback of her, she was holding her own parents accountable. Like you
Yeah.
can do that and like be like, hey, I love you, but like, yeah, no one's gonna be like, yeah, I told my dad, like, I just wish he like talked to me more about this certain issue. Why do you hate your dad?
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, my dad, he just gets on me about like not calling him after I get home late. Why do you hate your dad? No one would ever say
I
that. So why can't we
know.
say that? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like to me, the definition of like patriotism, that word has just been commandeered by all that is god awful. But what I think patriotism is that it's showing concern for the evolution and growth of your own country because countries are living, evolving things.
Yep.
And so if we have a stake in how it goes, where it goes, pointing out the things that are wrong and not working, that's our duty as a patriot, I believe.
Amen.
But she just like completely stole my heart and taught us a lot. And I really hope that this encourages conversations in, I don't know, all of our lives with people that we know, because like she said, she was in college thinking like there weren't that many dreamers there and then finding out there were, they just aren't talking about it. And so if these are conversations that more people can have in their lives with people in their lives, and that's better.
Yeah. And she like what does he have a lookout? Is it the
What? Keep an eye out?
keep an eye out having an aneurysm? Keep an eye out, Jesus, for her because she, I mean, obviously you can tell she's extremely articulate and charming. But she is going to be starting a podcast soon. I don't want to put pressure on her, but it's in the ether.
She's gonna do it.
Yeah. So her Instagram is at Dulce Rico, Dulce E Rico. So DULCEERICO _. And we'll be tagging her on our Instagram. So you can find her there as well. So keep an eye out for her. I was about to literally say, have a lookout for her.
Have a lookout.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah. But our Instagram is at the SOS Pod and our Twitter. So follow us there.
The charity nonprofit.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yes.
But
So
like those are our socials.
Yeah, those are still our social, but like follow us.
But this is our nonprofit because we're good people.
Yeah, also this. So United We Dream. United We Dream is the largest immigrant youth-led community in the country. They have an online reach of over 4 million and are made up of over 400,000 members, as well as 5 statewide branches and over 100 local groups across 28 states. So whether they're organizing in the streets, building cutting-edge technology systems, opening doors for LGBTQ immigrant youth, clearing pathways to education, stopping deportations, or creating alliances across social movements, United We Dream puts undocumented immigrant youth in the driver's seat to strategize, innovate, and win. So to learn more and donate to them, please go to unitedwedream.org.
Yes. And, subscribe to us.
Yep.
On Spotify and YouTube. We're on YouTube, SOS with Molly and Alyssa, and Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you find podcasts, we are there. Rate and review us. It helps us reach more people. And we had some recent drops on our Patreon, some bonus contact and interviews. So please go check that on our Patreon. You could be a patron for $3 a month, $7 a month or $11 a month. It's
Exactly.
that bad in the grand scheme of things, especially if
Really
you have an
nothing.
ex's Netflix account you can steal. There you
Exactly.
go. There's your 11 a month. Just
There's your 11 a
saying.
month. And our content is coming in hot this year for that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we
The
are
bonus, the quizzes, the
the
bonus
studio.
content.
The
Yep.
studio that's about to come in. So we're going to get like a little pretty
Mhm.
studio with us in person. It's going to be great.
Yep. Leveling up, y'all, so you don't want to miss out.
Hell yeah.
I'm Molly Cottrell,
I'm Melissa Rosano.
and here's the Turning Meltdown
Into magic.